Compañeros, vamos acabando, por favor. Chicos, que vamos justitos con la rueda de prensa, por favor. Por favor. Yeah.
Just checking with both of you. Can you hear me? Yes? Lovely. That's good. Hi, good afternoon. We're going to commence the new press conference at the San Sebastian International Film Festival. As you know, we're going to present The Last Showgirl, which is one of the films programmed this year in the official section in competition of the festival. To present it, we have the film, we have the director, Gia Coppola, and one of the actresses, Pamela Anderson. As there's many of you, I'm going to open up the QA. Okay, there's one in the front row there. Hi, good afternoon. Congratulations for the film that I loved very much, by the way. I would like to ask you, normally films about showgirls, normally we see one type of showgirl and types of shows. And I remember, I don't remember any film that portrays so well to the person, the showgirl, the woman, that is to say. I'd like to know whether that was the main reason why both of you were interested in the project. And now, if you could talk about how was it you got when you both met? What was that encounter like?
Well, I've always wanted to do a film in Las Vegas, and when my cousin Kate, who also has an affection for Las Vegas, told me about her time spending with the Jubilee Showgirls, and the show was closing, and it was just a world that I was so excited to learn more about, and this kind of art form that is so underappreciated, and there's so much quality to it that I didn't even realize until diving into it. The level of production design, the level of costume design was really interesting to me. And the showgirl being such a symbol for Las Vegas, and there is no show that represents that act anymore. So it just felt very symbolic in a lot of ways, and the character was really interesting to me, and I felt like there was no one else that could play the part other than Pamela. And I had seen her picture around, and something was really drawing me to her, but when I saw her documentary, I knew that she had to be Shelley and no one else could do it, and I searched high and low in a way to get in touch with her and meet her, and we finally she called me and she was like, oh, I love the movie, like I really want to do it, and I was like, but I want you to do it, and so it was kind of like, yeah.
Hay aquí una pregunta aquí delante.
Yes, another question. Hi, Jose Manuel Romero from Canela said, for Gia, the director, I would like to ask you, to what extent do you think this film is a film also about dignity of the working class? Because there's a look, very tender and a dignified look throughout the film about the character. And for Pamela, what moment did you find the story of the character, any connection, I don't know whether that exists, to a dancer and an actress which has been misunderstood by her environment, whether there's any parallelism with your career and how Hollywood also treats a lot of actresses?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many parallels of just being a woman and how society confines you, how you navigate being a mother and having a career. And I've always wanted to tell a mother-daughter story, and to, and I feel like, I'm losing my train of thought for a second, but I guess I relate to it in just the confines of being a woman and being a creative, and so many times I'm in a position where you love a creative opportunity and it doesn't love you back, and coming to terms with that. And I think whether whatever gender age you are, you can relate to kind of having to juggle your dreams versus reality.
I was really drawn to the script and felt a kinship, obviously. And when I read the script, I was overwhelmed. I've never really been offered a movie part like this, so I was really excited. But I was also really drawn to the mother-daughter relationship and how to manage your dreams and manage this business and, just be the best you can be. And it was really exciting to put it together.
¿Se oye? Vale.
Yes. Congratulations for the film. My question is for Gia. Yesterday in the press conference, Pedro Almodóvar said that they'd asked him whether throughout his career he had doubted of his talent. In your career, have you ever doubted your talent? And above all, bearing in mind that you belong to a family that is the history of cinema.
Yeah, I think being creative comes with a lot of insecurity. And it's so reassuring to hear people like Pedro say that they also go through feelings of doubt. It's just that perseverance of knowing that you have to kind of express yourself and keep going and turn off the negative voice in your head. And I'm grateful that with my family that I have wonderful people to turn to for advice, but also very big creatives that I have to sort of navigate what my own vision is at the same time. But I think that with every artist, they have that voice within them that they need to kind of keep reassuring themselves that you got this. I mean, how would you... How do you feel about that?
I've doubted myself a lot, yes. Yeah. And others have too. But that's kind of what drives you. I feel like you keep this little flame burning inside you, and even if other people don't believe in you, you have to believe in yourself and push yourself as an artist, because it's very easy to pigeonhole somebody or find reasons. And you just got to keep blowing people's minds.
You have to do, and you have to do it for
fun.
Yourself. Like you
Yes.
have to, I feel like I'm so proud of the movie and I love it, so that feels fulfilling. And it's just such a bonus if other people get to connect to it.
Yeah.
Hay una pregunta ahí atrás.
Another question.
Gia, watching the movie yesterday, many great films connected to social realistic stories, like, for example, Barbara Loden's Wanda and Norma Ray came to my mind, and I think that your film belonged to that tradition. To turn it into a question, I would like to understand to what kind of heroic character does Shelley belong, and how does she connect to this tradition of social hero? And if you allow me a second question, the cinematography of the film is amazing. I would like to understand how was your work with Autumn Arkapo? Thank you.
Well, I'll start with the second question because the first one seems really hard. But Autumn and I started together with my first film, Palo Alto, and so we've been friends ever since, and now she's grown to be a very successful cinematographer, so I'm lucky that she still wants to work with me. But we were adamant that this movie needs to be shot in Super 16, and there's risks with that, but we were willing to take those risks, and it was definitely worth it, and I feel like I could see and feel the movie in a different way as opposed to working in digital. And the first question, I'm struggling to answer. I feel like that's a better question for you.
Oh. Well, I love the movie Wanda.
Yeah, I've actually never seen it, but people have been comparing it to it.
That's a great compliment, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a great, that's what's wonderful about independent filmmaking. We made this film in 18 days, and it was a labor of love.
Okay, Conchita.
Conchita. Hi, Conchita, good afternoon. I would like to ask Pamela, I think your life has not been a bed of roses all throughout it, but to what extent, having lived very powerful things in your life, has helped you to compose this character that you have, to this survivor? And I would also ask you about your voice, because the voice, that broken voice you use, broke my heart really when I heard it, when I saw the film also. To what extent, or how did you work on the voice, and how did you approach your character, I think she's trying to say?
I just relate to the character so much, and I really worked on it, drawing from personal experience, of course, and just trying to find ways to really encapsulate this entire life that's almost impossible to articulate, that I've gone through, from Playboy to Baywatch to all these different things, and trying to navigate it. And I've really related to the script. And yeah, I found even Shelley had a lisp. It just happened. It just kind of, the voice became the character, and the character, it just happened. And we worked really hard and really fast, so there was no time to overthink it, just become it. And I'm just so grateful that I got this experience, because I've always known that I was capable of so much more. And I think I just had nothing to lose, and I was just so drawn to this project, because I thought, this might be the only chance that I can do something like this. And so I just really drew from experience, and drew from all my experiences, from my marriages, my children, my life, my career. And that's how it all came about, how it all worked. I feel like it's just addictive. It's fun.
María.
Hola.
Hi. Here at the back. Good afternoon, Maria Guerra from Quinótico. It's a question for Pamela Anderson about the representation of the body in a woman of your age. I've got the feeling, there's also a beautiful scene with Jamie Lee Curtis, and I've got the feeling there's a new reflection about the body of women, of the so-called sex symbols of the 90s. How do you feel things are changing, or whether you think things are changing, that is, say, how people conceive women's bodies in Hollywood?
Yes. It's just, I'm just living it, I'm 57 years old. A lot of my career was about physicality, and it's been a journey, but it's also been part of the reason why I've kind of done this experiment with myself, with just, peeling it all back, remembering who I am, not being defined by what people do to me, but by what I do. And it's been and to have passion for, and not become bitter, and not become jaded, still finding joy in the process, in life, and in this business. So that's another trait I felt like I really related to with Shelley, was her belief in glamour and how it was ending. But it's much more sensual time for me now to be than it was. So that's where we cross paths too.
I think I just want to add about what you said about nostalgia, and so much of this movie sort of deals with the dichotomy of old versus new, and out with the old and with the new. And even with Vegas, you see like the architecture is changing of old Vegas versus new Vegas, and the LED lights. And I think I feel such an appreciation for old movies and culture, and kind of Shelley also embodies so much of just appreciating art and in its fullest form, and kind of seeing how that progresses into something that feels a little less, or has less respect for artistry and craft, and just more kind of, I don't want to say just kind of oversexed is sort of the transition it turns into.
I think Vegas was interesting to see in the daytime too.
Yeah.
And we said something the other day, like, Vegas during the day is like a woman without makeup.
Yeah.
It's more vulnerable and revealing, more intimate, and it tells the story of what it takes to put those glamorous shows together or make a beautiful, glamorous, 90s silhouette, And there's a story behind it.
Aquí hay una pregunta.
Yes, there's another question. Hi. My question is, the protagonist has to, the main character has to confront a rejection and an sort of unfair reality. I'd like to ask you, how did you approach this rejection throughout your careers? You, Gia, as a director, and Pamela as an actress.
Yeah, I feel that oftentimes I dive into projects, and the movie business is a very hard industry to kind of forge a path in, and I've definitely had my learning lessons of, a project not, I always sort of say, loving me back, but it always feels like, rejection is protection, and if you can kind of not, as Pamela say, be bitter about things and sort of embrace where life is also leading you, I find there's a lot of knowledge and learning opportunities when you are open to that. Rejection feels like protection, and I feel like with this project in particular, like we often talk about how just stars really felt aligned for us in so many ways. There's certain times we're delivered choices, and it just sort of naturally kind of gets answered for us, and it feels like our timing was just like the universe was bringing us together.
And timing. Yeah.
Aquí hay una pregunta.
Congratulations to both of you. Pamela, you are so extraordinary in this role. Does it feel like a second act to you? I know you never went away, but what's been happening in your life in order to suddenly you have a movie star career? I mean, this role, you're going to be in Rosebush Pruning. What happened to open you up to this?
I have a few missing decades of my life. And it felt like I went from Baywatch to Broadway, and I don't know what happened in between. It was a crazy time. But like I said, timing, and to just remain open. And this was a real blessing. I mean, to have Gia call me with the script and be able to read, and I kept saying to her, "Are you sure you want me to do this? Are you sure? Like, I know I can do this." I was like, I feel so inspired and so grateful, and you just never know. It's never too late, because I was in my garden. I was making pickles. I was like making jam, and I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe I'm never going to get that chance. I've always known that I could do more, or I want to do more, at least. I don't know what I'm capable of, but it's an exciting time. It's really exciting, and I'm just really grateful to have the experience, because I feel, I get to do this now at my age, so it's very exciting.
Aquí hay una pregunta.
There's a question up here. First of all, congratulations for the film. Congratulations for your portrayal, by the way. There's a moment in the film in which Telly is almost maternal for her show mate with Kierna and with Brenda. How did you establish the relationship on set during the shoot? Because you can feel that there's almost maternal-daughter relationship between them. Thank you.
Yeah, a big part of this movie was sort of your blood family, and then the family that you create in your workspace, or your chosen family. And a Showgirl production feels a lot like a movie set in ways of just you're with people for a long time, and it's very insular, and you become a family. And we did little exercises where we would go to Pamela's house and she would cook us dinner. She'd teach us how to make soup and cookies, and
Everyone had a job.
Everyone had a job. Someone was peeling the carrots and chopping this or that, and
We bonded very quickly, and with Jamie Lee Curtis, I felt, she's energy, and she's a force, and I just fell in love so quickly. Like, I feel so close to her.
yeah,
She's amazing. The whole cast is.
yeah.
We did other exercises too. We feel so connected.
Well,
And that
also
was-
just being like confined in a casino too. You just are forced to eat at the same place and be with each other, and that just creates a natural bond.
Yeah.
First of all, congratulations for the movie. I think it was absolutely great. I would like to ask this question to Gia. First question is, how did you address the generational conflict between the mother and the daughter in the film? And what message do you hope or would you like the audience take away from this relationship? Thank you.
I've always wanted to tell a mother-daughter story. I was raised by a single mom, and she had me when she was 20. And so that always felt like a story very close to my heart. But I recently had a child of my own, and I feel like I wouldn't have been able to tell this story had I understood what it's like to be on the other side of that, to be a mother. And as I said before, to balance motherhood and career, and how complicated that is for women in particular, and how, our options with childcare, and it's just so different for men. And so it's hard for me to say a message, because I feel like I want people to take away their own sort of resonance with it, and their own relationship to the story. But I hope that when you make movies, that people feel less alone in that, and especially with the story about, it feels very much a female-focused story, and I hope that, women see each other in it and create sisterhoods.
Aquí hay una pregunta.
Another question.
This film seems a picture of a long odyssey done in the wrong direction. Is this film a fight against this culture that encourages you to catch a dream, even if it's not reasonable in many ways, and nobody really cares if you do it or not, because everybody's on its own?
I think, Vegas feels so much of a metaphor for just kind of the American dream, and like all that glitters is not gold. And so much of America has that livelihood where people go to be in show business and fulfill these dreams of being in the spotlight, and it doesn't, it doesn't work out for them. And at what point do you let go of your dreams? And just the harsh realities of retirement plans and low income wages that you can't actually, support yourself. I hope I'm answering your question.
Even finding love
Finding love.
later
yeah.
in life. You put everything into this
Yeah,
life.
it's hard for everyone out there, and I think this movie should shed a light of everyone being kind to each other and supporting one another in ways that we can.
Hay aquí una pregunta.
First of all, congratulations on the movie. I wanted to ask you both about the dance sequences in the movie, because I think they're beautifully shot and they're beautifully choreographed. I just wanted to know how you work those scenes with the camera and with your actors in the movie. Thank you.
Yeah, those were really fun and complicated scenes. What was more complicated was just the dressing room stuff of trying to figure out the orchestration of putting on these actual Bob Mackie costumes that were from the Jubilee show that hadn't left the building in 30 years. These are museum pieces. And so to kind of learn the etiquette of what goes on first and what comes off, and then the actors are having to say their lines and then know their blocking.
Mirrors.
Yeah, that was, and these headpieces, sometimes they were 60 pounds. Like, that was more of the challenge than the actual just sort of free-floating dancing. That I feel like that was just like, be free, liberate yourself.
Yeah. And make sure your headdress doesn't fall off.
Yeah, yeah. And normally those girls wear headdresses for just 2 minutes on stage or something even less, and they were having to really hold it for long periods of time because we're like, oh, hold for lighting, you know, hold for this or that, and their necks are cranking.
And we had Greg Butler.
And we had Greg Butler, who was an amazing choreographer who Pamela had worked with before. And so we had a few weeks prior to filming and pre-production to kind of choreograph these dances, and he really set the tone of, you know, Kiernan's dance and Shelley's dance of what was right with the character and in the space for that moment.
Hay una pregunta aquí atrás.
There's a question back here. Hi, congratulations for the film. The question for both of you. I'm not too sure whether through the process you could get in touch with true, real showgirls, because those showgirls maybe not exist, as you say in the film, but women that were showgirls in the past, whether you were able to meet them and whether that was part of the process vis-a-vis direction and as well as the performance. And if such was the case, if these women have been able to see the film and they could give you some feedback or what they thought about the film.
Well, Kate Gersten spent time, the writer, she spent time with the real Jubilee dancers. So she learned a lot being around them, but also Diane Palm was a showgirl in the Jubilee show, and she came, we spent a day at your house, and she brought a bunch of showgirls from the actual show, and they taught you the walk and how to stand and
told lots of stories. And they were very proud of their art form and their families.
Yeah, and it was important to make sure that we were representing showgirls authentically, and it was important to them. So they haven't seen the film yet, but I hope they'll be proud.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Hay una pregunta ahí al fondo.
Question at the back.
Congratulations for the wonderful performance. I would like to know the 25 years old Pamela, how would react knowing that there is a huge possibility sooner or later to hear her name under the Oscar nominations?
Oh,
and
geez.
should I ask if you did any Oscar speeches? No, you were really brilliant. And did you ever make any Oscar speeches with your toothbrush in front of the mirror when you were younger? Thank you so much for your time and for the lovely film.
Oh, thank you. I don't know how to answer that. It's funny. I think, yeah, it's my 25-year-old self. Oh. Well, should I tell him the Playboy story? No.
It's up to you.
I think in my Playboy centerfold I wrote that I wanted to be a good mother and win an Oscar. In my little bio. But I was joking. It's funny. No.
Tenemos tiempo para una pregunta más.
Time for one more question. I think there's a question that someone raised their hand and hasn't asked the question yet. No? No? Well, okay, if there are no further questions, I would like to ask you, it's a film that we've got Pamela Anderson here who portrays an incredible character, but the idea, this ensemble piece with many female characters is very important, and it's addressed from a place of kindness, a family of women who take care of themselves. I would like to ask Gia, for example, as there's a new generation of women filmmakers that are talking about quite clearly about the idea of solidarity between women and the support between women. And on the other hand, at a performance level, the idea of how to work the character from that collaboration between actresses and how each character feeds off the others, more or less. Could you explain that from the direction point of view and also from the portrayal point of view by Pamela? I hope you've got all that.
I wish some of our other actors were here because they all express their relationship to how they feel like they've been defined by society or with the show, the idea of a show closing and how they've related to it in their personal lives. But what I knew going into it, that this was a movie that dealt with each sort of generation kind of dealing with it differently and how it sort of is representative of a woman in her 30s and a woman in her 20s and a woman in her 50s. Marianne talks about how she felt hardened by the craft and that her sort of butting against Pamela's role, Shelley, was because Shelley was so optimistic and such a dreamer, and it sort of rubbed Marianne the wrong way because she feels so rejected by life. And so she kind of was hardened and doesn't understand why Shelley would be kind of in this sort of different coping mechanism. Do you have anything else you want to add to that? I'm trying to remember the whole question.
Everyone is just so different at different ages, how they deal with being a showgirl, rejection, the show closing, life. It was a dance. It really was, and it was all complimentary, and that's due to Gia and the script and.
I'm not too sure if there's time for one final question. Just to finish, there's something that draws my attention when we see the film. A question for Gia. At a directing and camera level, I think it's a film which is completely different to your previous films. And a colleague referred to that is the DOP of the film, the cinematographer, and the decisions that you make in order to stage this story, because there's a significant change in the way you shoot your characters and the choreography and to the photography of the film, quite different to your previous proposals in your previous films.
Yeah, well, we shot this movie on film, so that was different, and that was a wonderful luxury, even though, budgetarily things haven't really changed. I just was adamant that I wanted to do it this way. And because I made this movie in a very intimate way, a lot of it was with my family. My cousin Robert Schwartzman was the producer. My cousin Kate Gersten was the writer. One of my aunts was script supervisor. My mother did the costumes. It gave me, and all my friends were, heads of department. It gave me a lot of autonomy to make the movie that I wanted to make. But because we were so intimate, it forces you to approach certain things in a certain way. So, because we were shooting film, I had to sacrifice a lot of the lighting, and Autumn had to just be handheld. But I love when circumstances sort of dictate your choices, and how do you kind of embrace them rather than feel get frustrated by them, find the solution. And so much of the space really was dictating our camera work. We were in really tight spaces, so the camera sort of had really no choice where to go. And yeah, it was a labor of love.
Pues muchísimas gracias.
Okay, thank you very much, Gia Coppola and Pamela Anderson. Thank you.